Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is the Prince of FNAF, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And of course, if you like the content seen in today's video, then be sure to hit that like button and notification bell. That way you will indeed be notified for any awesome videos like this in the future. Alright, so here's the Disney Toy Box Venomized Hulk. Now, Disney Toy Box has done a majority of franchises. They've done figures for Marvel, figures for Star Wars, and of course, figures for Disney. As you can see here, this is Venomized Hulk. Looking pretty cool indeed. The face sculpt looking pretty nasty, if you can say so. He is covered in these awesome sort of purple tendrils. You can see part of Hulk is still visible, like his right leg and his right arm, and part of his chest is still visible, but most of him is now covered in this alien symbiote trying to take over him, which I think is pretty cool. He does come with this accessory of these symbiote tendrils with like faces on the end of them. They kind of look like snakes, and if you can see this little bump right here on his arm, right there, is this symbiote piece just kind of plugs in via that little ball joint, and now he can shoot you with snake-like tendrils. It's definitely a very cheesy looking accessory, but I think it kind of works for a venomized character. He's got more of those snake-like things protruding out of him. It is pretty cool. I do like it. As for articulation on this guy, his head can move like this. Can he do the Exorcist? No, he can't. His head can move that far, and then it can move that far. But this other little snake-like symbiote head is preventing him from moving all the way around. So he can't do the Exorcist. His arms can rotate that much. He can move forward that much. Same with the other arm, can rotate that much, and then can move out. And then his arm joints don't really articulate, they just sort of rotate, which is a weird articulation for me. It just kind of splits away from itself, which is interesting. As you can see, it just kind of rotates. It doesn't really move anywhere, just rotating. And his hands don't move at all, or not that I can see. I think his hands do move forward, but that's about it. Same with the other arm, just kind of moves back and forth. He can rotate 360 degrees at his waist. He can kick forward that far, kick backward that far. He can move that far. And he does have this ankle joint, which can move up and down and then side to side, which is cool. And that goes for the same on the Hulk part of it. I like that he's covered in these awesome tendrils, which is a big staple of a Venom symbiote, is just to have those ooze-like tendrils just protruding out of him. And it is just definitely a very cool figure. I wish there could have been more going for this figure. He doesn't articulate that well, and he is pretty hefty. You can get these at your local Disney store for about 15 bucks. It's about the cheapest thing you can get in Disney store, quite frankly. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. I do like it. All of the lime green veins, and of course the Venom part that's actually symbiotified is all dark green. And then you can see kind of Hulk is not completely consumed by the symbiote, and so part of him is still visible, like his pant leg and his half of his body up here. But yeah, it is pretty cool, and I like that the way they presented this figure, the way Disney presented this figure, is kind of having him being taken over or overtaken by the symbiote, which I think is cool. It's definitely a cool concept to look at. I just think that they could have gone without this goofy-looking accessory of the snake-like the symbiote snakes. Because that's all what it looks like. It just looks like he's got weird snakes coming out of his hand, which looks pretty ridiculous if you ask me. And when that's up, it causes his hand not to be able to hold forward. Because you'd think that if there's symbiotes coming out of his hand, you'd want his hand to be raised up like that, right? but it's too heavy. And this arm is really loose, by the way, so it may work for your figure, but on my figure, it's just really, really loose. And I like the texturing here because it kind of looks like, you can see the symbiote is a little bit smoother around, but then where his skin is kind of rough, which I like the contrast. He's got these spikes on his head, which are like his hair got all symbiotified. Just still pretty cool. It's a solid figure, and I think if translated well, it could have worked. It's just the presentation, articulation-wise, isn't very good. I mean, there is no articulation in the arms. You can't move the arms. The only thing you can do with the arms is kind of rotate them, and that's about it. I mean, there should have been more articulation. There just isn't. But anyway, let's do some size comparisons before we close up shop for tonight. So first up for size comparison, here we have the Disney Toy Box Venomized Hulk next to the Ultimate Spider-Man Venom vs. Carnage 2-pack Venom. And as you can see, Hulk is way more of a beefy figure compared to this Venom, and definitely it's a cool size comparison, to say the least. Next up for size comparison, here we have the Disney Toy Box Venomized Hulk next to the Red Goblin. This was produced by Marvel Legends, and this is from an Ultimate timeline where Norman Osborn stumbles across the Carnage symbiote, turning him into the fearsome supervillain Red Goblin, which is the figure you see before you. But anyway, moving on to our next size comparison. So the only problems I have with this figure is the painting around the face, particularly around the eyes and teeth. If you can see that, it's just atrociously painted on there. You can kind of see the paint is already starting to flake off, especially around the horns here. And just the weird choices in articulation, like, what even is that? His arm like just splits and then moves for some reason. I don't know what that is. And the weird snake symbiote appendage that they gave him. The accessory, it doesn't do anything for the figure. The figure itself has a hard time just holding that up. So I think they could have just lost that accessory and just gone with the regular symbiote Hulk, because it definitely looks pretty cool. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Do take care, have a great night, and I'll see you guys in the next video.